Oh, hi. It's just hanging out playing some Ms. Pac-Man. When Pac-Man was kind of at the height of its popularity, I was pretty young and I was no good at it. I was maybe 6 or 7, I want to say. And, I was not a gamer yet. I remember one time I was watching my Uncle Tim play Pac-Man at, I'm pretty sure it was a pizza parlor, and I was watching him, and he said to me, "I'm going to go get another beer. Don't let anyone touch my game." And then he walked away. What? So when Ms. Pac-Man came out a year or so later, I was a little bit older. I had played some more games. My skills had improved. And I remember playing a bit of it in the arcade and enjoying it a lot more than the original. And I remember playing a ton of it on my Atari 2600. Now, as I had mentioned in my Portland Retro Gaming Expo 2022 recap video, card up there somewhere, the creators of that game gave a talk about the early history and how it came to be. Now, Ms. Pac-Man didn't just spring to life fully formed as the game that we know and love. Using terminology from the Doom era, Ms. Pac-Man started life as a Pac-Man total conversion called Crazy Otto. And there's a whole giant backstory behind that. After the talk, I had the very good fortune to spend quite a bit of time talking with them and playing some of these very early versions of the game, both Crazy Otto and some of the other versions along the way. Now, this whole thing turning into a full video was completely impromptu. I had just planned to record a little bit of footage of the original Crazy Otto and post that as a short. But they just kept hanging out and talking and showing us different versions of the game and how it evolved I think they were as excited to talk about this game and its history with fans as we were to hear about it and play these early versions of the game. So you can find some pictures that I took at PRGE and some from this event through my links to my Twitter and Instagram feeds. They're in the description down below. So they spent over an hour hanging out. And so instead of recording any of this on my proper camera and setting anything up and trying to make sure everything was going to look good, I just recorded a whole bunch of random clips of things on my phone. So the image quality is bad. The lighting's bad. The audio is bad. Nothing is held steady. On top of all of that, the audio is sort of doubly weird. All of the video recorded at PRGE was recorded at the ground control booth, which was right next to the Retrocade. And the Retrocade is famous for having a DJ who is playing all kinds of things that in the background would get me all kinds of copyright strikes. Since we're living on the precipice of the robo-apocalypse, we have magical AI available that can do cool things like separate music and people talking from an audio recording. And I used a website called, I want to get the name right, vocalremover.org to do all the audio processing on the video that was recorded at PRGE. It worked surprisingly well. I am really impressed. It's a fantastic piece of software. Now, one thing that I don't think shows up very well in these first couple clips is the names of the monsters. So they had, in their quest to avoid infringing on any Namco or Midway IP when they were creating their total conversion, they changed the names of all the ghosts and all the monsters. I have to get it right. They are all named after famous scientists. They are, and I want to get this right too, they are Plato, Darwin, Freud, and Newton.
And it had our company name, General Computer.
Right.
So this is Crazy Otto.
Your name is still in the ROMs.
Yes.
It's hidden in the
Yes,
graphics.
that Gen Comp string is in the graphics ROMs for Ms. Pac-Man.
Yeah, no, I've seen it.
So this is basically what we showed to. Here's where you can tell. This is what we showed to Midway.
Okay.
That very first time we went and showed it to them. This is the stage.
So do you remember where on that version the safe spot was that you had it fixed? Because
Can't remember.
Well,
I can't remember.
so you showed them after they pulled a working machine off the line for you to.
Right. They pulled a working machine off the line. I had a little circuit board that basically plugged in onto the microprocessor and had our ROMs.
Okay,
it had
okay.
none of the really fancy code swapping stuff. It basically just wholesale replicated everything. So I pull out all the ROMs.
So it plugged into
this
the.
in and make it
See,
go.
that was the thing I was wondering is if it plugged into the CPU socket or if it plugged into the ROM sockets because you could.
No, plugged into the CPU socket.
Okay.
As I recall, plugged into the CPU socket, replace all the ROMs, but there's extra ROMs.
Right.
It's on this little daughter board with a little decode.
mind if I give it a try?
So
Sure, go ahead.
did
I can't remember MAME, how it's like F1. Yeah, oh, sorry, come on.
Let me minimize everything.
Oh, geez. Same music, same everything. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you crazy.
So this is Crazy Otto code from, as near as I can tell, October the 12th, 1981.
Oh.
And this is what we showed Midway. Very first time we showed it.
It's so weird seeing it with legs.
Yeah. And the monsters, we really love these monsters with their little antennas and their
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the characters in Mr. Do,
Yep.
but I don't remember like what order those games came out.
Oh, there are a couple of other little subtle things, like when you eat the blue monster,
Yeah.
it does not show the eyes going back to the center pin
Oh.
because they looked really weird. Because it also animated the antennas and the feet. It wasn't just the eyes.
Right.
And so we took that out, and that actually was an interesting gameplay because you could not tell when they were about to get to the center. So watch what happens when you eat one. It just vanishes,
Oh yeah.
and then it shows up in the center pin.
Yeah, that.
But it's still traveling.
It
it's
is,
just invisible.
yes, you just
Okay.
can't see it.
Okay. All right.
And so that you talk about subtle differences in the gameplay between
Yeah.
Crazy Otto and Ms. Pac-Man.
What was the subtle difference you were just discussing?
The version they first showed Midway was essentially a complete game. It had all of the principal elements of what we now think of as Ms. Pac-Man. That includes all of the intermissions and all of the fruit. In the first of these next clips, Steve explains about how the pretzel came to be when everything else is fruit. Now, I did not do a very good job recording the intermission sequences, and I have regrets about that because it's very cool to see them. The intermissions tell the same story as in Ms. Pac-Man about boy meets girl, etc., etc. The female counterpart to Otto is never named in the game, and she doesn't have a name that even appears anywhere in the ROM dumps. But apparently, in a couple of places in comments in the source code, she is referred to as Anna. And this, I thought, was kind of a cute programmer joke of sorts, because you've got OTTO and ANNA, right? So in this next segment, you can see a couple of the intermissions, and I really like seeing the little baby Otto thing come out of the egg.
And we joke, Kevin really liked to eat salty pretzel snacks. So we said one of them not. There's all these fruits, and there's a pretzel. Well, it's Kevin's pretzel. There you go. See the female. Clearly, that's a female character.
Yeah.
Clearly, there's a little heart. But that one again was you had to pick from a.
Well, that extra board is
Oh, is that right?
Never ran?
Oh, baby.
If you're still watching at this point, now would be a great time to click the like and subscribe buttons if you're into that kind of thing. After entering into the agreement with Midway to develop this game into something that would be another entry in the Pac-Man franchise, and video game franchises weren't even a thing in 1981, 1982 when they were working on this. That was an entirely new concept. The game went through a few iterations. The first one of these iterations was Super Pac-Man. And Super Pac-Man was just going to substitute the original Pac-Man graphics and monster names to replace the Crazy Otto graphics and monster name replacements. It makes sense. Trust me.
And maybe it was going to be Super Pac-Man.
All right.
Okay, so it's Super Pac-Man. It's the same monsters. It's the same Pac-Man. Right. But it's everything else is Crazy Otto gameplay.
Right. Okay.
It's Clyde.
So is he going to have the leg?
No,
Okay.
no, it's Pac-Man, starring Pac-Man.
All right.
So this is Super Pac-Man. So everything is Pac-Man.
Okay.
Now it still has, and again it's sort of corrupt a little bit. It still has the cartoons, but it's just red.
All right.
So clearly there's still a female.
Yeah.
She's red, because of course that's the way girls are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't, it's corrupt. But
Along the way, the game changed to feature the female character. And the first iteration of this was, it feels so silly to say this out loud, was Pac-Woman. Now, there's two interesting things to note about the graphics in Pac-Woman and in the early iterations of Miss Pac-Man, because that was a step along the way too, and the early iterations of Ms. Pac-Man. One, she has long red hair. And she's a girl, so she's got to have long hair, right? I mean, that's obvious. Geez. And the second is that when she's moving up and down the screen, she turns to face the camera. And this is a lot like what Otto did in Crazy Otto, except the Pac-Woman never turns to face away from the camera the way that Otto did.
And this is the ROMs are corrupt, so it plays a little bit. It plays enough to sort of show you what it looks like, right?
Pac-Woman.
No, it's not going to play.
Got the hair.
It's got the red hair, right?
Alright,
And
so
it
is that
rotates.
Anna?
Here, start the game again.
Yeah,
Hang
I'm
on.
just going to see.
Oh no, it's not going to play. It's going to die.
Yep.
Oh, and the dots
Okay.
were different too.
But if you bit of animation,
Show you the demo.
yeah. So, so the idea here is, okay, you're back to the to the original Pac-Man monsters, except for the fourth one, Bonnie, because it was Bonnie and Clyde.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And so there she is. So she comes and then she turns and animates toward you,
Yeah.
right? And so that was with red.
Yeah.
So that was,
Yeah,
Pac-Woman, red hair.
Yeah.
So there's two things going on, but it's got the red hair. So the name's changed.
Yep.
And the character's the same. The character's still the same red hair, rotate, turn character.
Oh, and it's Sue instead of
Yeah,
Bonnie.
now it's Sue. So, the few little things that change, and there she is. Right.
Came from Doug.
So at that point, it still had red hair.
So what's with the different shaped dots?
It's a faulty ROM.
Oh,
So
okay,
it's,
okay.
it's bugging the ROM. That's why it's
Okay.
not. You can't play the game.
Okay.
At some point, I probably could go through and figure out what's wrong, but it plays the track mode enough to see that. Oh, I see the character at least.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's okay.
that is a true engineer right there. Looking at a broken ROM dump from 40 years ago says, I could probably figure out what's wrong with that and fix it. Like, yes. I love it. That's all the Crazy Otto, Super Pac-Man, Pac-Woman, Ms. Pac-Man video that I recorded that day at PRGE. Without a doubt, the talk and then over an hour after the talk that I spent, hanging out there and playing those games, without a doubt, that was the highlight of the expo for me. And that's one of the really cool things about this expo is that oftentimes you get opportunities like this to meet and interact with people who, for lack of a better term, created our childhoods. Now, I know I will, but until next time, try to remember the good stuff.